everyone, and welcome to this week's Mindset Minutes. So, is there a thought pattern or a behavior that you would like to change? If so, how often are you repeating the positive thoughts or the positive behaviors? I'm curious. I was reading an article last week, and it was talking about visualization, which I'm a huge fan of. But the part that I was zeroing in on was this idea of repeating this visualization every hour, at least 10 times a day. And I thought, wow, that is pretty cool. Imagine if every hour you spent 5 minutes visualizing either a habit that you wanted to change and visualizing the new sort of habit or behavior, or even a thought thing. And so I decided I was going to take that on as a little experiment. So I have lots of alarms going off. But I offered it to a client the other day because there was definitely a thought pattern she was wanting to change. And so I suggested, well, what if you imagine yourself saying something different 10 times a day? And she's like, 10 times a day? Who has time for that? I said, how many times do you say negative things about yourself or about this particular thing? And she was like, I see where you're going. Yes, I probably say it about 100 times a day. So if I have time for 100 repetitions of negative things, then I probably have time for 10 positive. And the answer is yes. In neon lights, capital letters, yes. It's working both ways. What is it that you're doing when you're repeating the negative behavior or the negative thought patterns? It's repetition. You're just doing it over and over and over and getting those results. So what if we take that repetition and apply it to something it is that you're wanting? So whether it's changing your thoughts or whether it's visualizing yourself doing something differently, whether it's taking action. But if you put it into a structure and really make it happen 10 times a day, do you think you might get results a little faster? Most definitely, you will. Now, is it going to happen like that? Hey, anything's possible. And you've repeated it a lot the other way, so it probably is going to take a little repetition in the other direction. And part of the reason is one of the kind of cornerstones behind repetition and why it works, and that is having to do with the neuroplasticity of your brain and really creating new neural pathways. But every time we do something, we almost lay down the groundwork in our brains and in our nervous system for that particular pattern of thought or behavior. And so when we want to change, we have to lay down new tracks, if you will. So in a simplistic example, it's like if you're going for a hike, right? You hike the same pathway, it's all tramped down and you know exactly where it is. But if you're starting to create a new one, you're creating new pathways, and it takes a little while until that becomes a very obvious pathway. And your brain will go the path of the least resistance. So naturally, when in a pinch, it's going to go to the one that's most formed, which due to repetition might be a negative thought pattern or behavior. And so now we want to shift it and get the other one to become the go-to path. So that's why it helps in terms of learning. It's that creating, one of the benefits of it is that you're literally creating new neural pathways. And spaced out learning can also be particularly effective. So that's more if you're learning material, but if you say you go to a workshop, right? You're inundated. You've just sat in a workshop with 12 hours worth of information and then you can't remember any of it the next day. So if you take chunks of it and repeat it 12 hours, 24 hours, 36, 72, maybe 2 weeks out, that repetition over time is going to help you integrate it into your mind, into your bodies. So it's almost like interval training for your mind. So that's one benefit. A second benefit of repetition is that it becomes that instinct, that go-to, that habitual place that you go. You start to just do things. There are things in your life that you probably do without thinking. Maybe you brush your teeth at night before you go to sleep. You may not have to think about that very often. You put on clothes when you wake up and go out to work or to wherever you're going. You're not really like, should I do that today? Should I not? I don't really feel like it. Maybe not, You just do it. And so that has become an ingrained habit because you've repeated it so many times. So we just want to repeat the behavior that you're wanting to change, the more positive aspect of that. So that becomes your go-to place. And then finally, it reduces frustration and helps you gain confidence. And I think they sort of go hand in hand. Often, I'll find when people are trying to make change, they get very frustrated because they'll do it maybe for a day, maybe even as much as a week, and then maybe we'll slide off. And then they start to blame themselves. See, I can't do it. What's wrong with me? Why don't I have the willpower or the ability or the intelligence to make this change happen? And it has nothing to do with any of that. It just has to do with the constant repetition. You would just have to keep going. It hasn't become that go-to habit yet. And so the negative one did because you repeated it 100 times. So now we want to make this. We just have to keep repeating it until we get it. So rather than getting frustrated, you just keep doing it, building. And when you succeed, that gives you evidence that yes, in fact, you are smart enough. You can do it because you are and you can, and it helps build your confidence and it helps you makes you want to keep going and keep doing it. So 3 big benefits of repetition, really learning, creating change, making it become the go-to habit, that instinctual place that you automatically go as opposed to it being labored or having to think about it or making the opposite choice. And third, it definitely improves your confidence. So, is there a behavior or a thought pattern you want to change? And are you willing to take on, drumroll, the 10 times a day? And it only has to be a couple of minutes. Anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes is really, really powerful. 10 times a day, you get to think about that or visualize a shift in your behavior. And you do that over and over until you change it. So give yourself 21 days and see how you feel, see how you're doing in 21 days. I would bet you're going to be doing a whole lot better. So I hope you take on that challenge. Jot me a note below. I would love to hear how that goes. And if you need any help, any accountability, any assistance, any deeper understanding on that, reach out because I would love to be there to help coach you and to help guide you to make that powerful change. So go out, repeat, master, and shine.